Some frequently asked questions about California special sessions. Can the governor call a special session for any reason? Article 4, Section 3B of the California State Constitution says that it is on extraordinary occasions that the governor, by proclamation, can force the legislature to assemble in a special session. This is also the reason why special sessions are formally called extraordinary sessions. Must the legislature enact a bill when called into special session? While the legislature is required to convene a special session once the governor has called it, there's no legal requirement that any legislation be enacted, nor even be voted upon. Is there any limitation on what types of bills can be considered in a special session? The state constitution does limit what the legislature can consider during a special session. The Constitution says that it has power to legislate only on subjects specified in the proclamation, but may provide for expenses and other matters incidental to the special session. Do special sessions continue once called by the governor? Regular sessions of the legislature and any special sessions that have not previously been adjourned are adjourned sine die for good at midnight on November 30th of each even numbered year. How can the legislature adjourn a special session? Prior to sine die, an adjournment requires a majority vote of both houses to adjourn the session. It's done by adoption of a concurrent resolution. So if the assembly adjourns the special session, but the Senate does not, then the session remains open. When does a statute enacted at a special session go into effect? As a general rule, 90 days after adjournment of the special session, unless it's an urgency or other bill that takes effect immediately. So the bill actually takes effect on the 91st day after the special session adjourns. Are there legislative rules adopted in a special session? Yes. Government Code Section 9921 requires both the state Senate and state Assembly to adopt joint rules for their proceeding for each regular as well as special session, and to do so by resolution. What are some of the subject matters from previous special sessions? Topics have included balancing the state budget on several occasions, workers' compensation, state pensions, education, redistricting, prison construction, healthcare, water, tax reform. Will a special session run concurrently with a regular session? They generally do run concurrently, but it can also occur during a joint recess of the regular session, for example. What form does a special session bill take? A bill is formally titled, for example, in the first extraordinary session, ABX 119, and that means AB 19 in the first extraordinary session. It can also be written as AB 19X with a single small x. In addition, at the top of each special session bill, they'll have on top California Legislature, for example, the 2023-24 first EXT, meaning first extraordinary session. So that makes clear that the bill is during the 2-year legislative session, but in the first extraordinary session. Otherwise, a special session bill actually looks like a regular session bill. And of course, it can, like a regular session bill, amend, add, repeal, or do any combination of those actions to the 29 California codes, again, whatever the topic is of that special session. What color is the paper for legislative publications in the first special session? It's blue. So the daily files, the daily journals, the weekly histories will be printed on a blue paper rather than the current white paper that is used for regular session legislative publications. Is there a difference between calling a special session and the call of the special session? In my mind, yes. In other words, some use the term proclaim. The governor has proclaimed a special session rather than called a special session. This is because some people use the term call to describe what is the purpose of the special session. In other words, what's the call of the session? That essentially means what's the purpose of that special session. And of course, as we know, the call of the session can be very specific or it can be very broad. What's the significance of that call of the session? Well, again, bills can only be heard in the special session if they fall within the stated purpose of the governor's proclamation of that special session. In fact, the Assembly Rules Committee and the Senate Rules Committee decide whether a bill's subject matter is properly within the call or the jurisdiction or the subject matter of the special session. What procedural items take place when a special session is proclaimed? Well, just like with the convening of a regular session, a special session is convened with officers being elected, rules being adopted. Now, there are often some differences in a few House or joint rules. Also, while all the standing committees could, in theory, be used in a special session, usually the Assembly and Senate just establish anywhere from 1 to 3 committees that deal with the particular subject matter of the special session. Can regular session standing committees be the same in a special session? Yes, but they can also be different. For example, if you look back at the first extraordinary session of the 2015 legislative session, there were only 3 committees used in the state Senate: Appropriations, Rules, and a specially named Transportation and Infrastructure Development Committee. Now, the same membership was used between the regular and special session committees, but they slightly expanded the jurisdiction of the regular session's Transportation Committee to include again the topic of the 2015 First Extraordinary Session on Infrastructure Development. What are the rules for gubernatorial bill actions in a special session? Article 4, Section 10B4 of the state constitution provides that if the legislature, by adjournment of a special session, prevents the return of a bill with the veto message, the bill becomes a statute unless the governor vetoes the bill within 12 days after it's presented by depositing the bill and the veto message in the office of the Secretary of State. What are the effective dates of special session bills? Article 4, Section 8C1 provides that a statute enacted at a special session shall go into effect on the 91st day after adjournment of the special session at which the bill was passed. This is intended, that 90-day window, to allow a referendum to be pursued against a bill enacted in a special session. Of course, we know that there are 4 exceptions that are not subject to the referendum and that take effect immediately and therefore are not subject to that 90-day window. Are there different procedural rules for bills in a special session? Yeah, there are a number of them. For example, bills in a special session are not subject to many of the rules and deadlines that are contained in the normal joint rules of the Senate and Assembly, such as Joint Rule 61 and 62 deadlines, as well as the 4-day and 2-day daily file notice requirements as well.